Can we get some sex education up in this piece? For those who followed me for a long time, you know I avoided the topic of sex for the longest time. There was a reason for that. There was a reason. A lot of spiritual teachers won't talk about sex at all. I was the type of spiritual teacher that said, oh, we're above all that. We're above all of that stuff. We are spiritual. We do not give in to those lower base impulses. But here's the thing. You can't turn that shit off. You can't turn that shit off. Spiritual masters can't turn that shit off. It's like hunger, thirst. Can you turn off your thirst? Well, I mean, I guess if you wanted to devote your entire life to the ascetic way, denying yourself any pleasure whatsoever. I don't want to eat. I don't want to breathe. I don't want to have sex. I don't want to mess. I just want to sit here for the rest of my life and just be in bliss. Now, you might think that sounds fun, right? Not really. No. But in fact, that doesn't even exist. Nobody's trying to be that. I mean, that idea of the spiritual master is the ego's interpretation of it. The ego has that interpretation of it so that it can eventually bring those spiritual teachers down. Spiritual teachers, they have sex. They eat fast food. They put things in their butts. I know this personally. They do. Spiritual teachers are human beings, and human beings have innate sexual desires. And thank God, because that innate sexual desire leads to the continuing of the human species. Without sex, there would be no human. So it seems really weird that spiritual teachers would not talk about this. But is it really so weird? I don't think so. So I got some notes today because I like notes. I like knowing what I'm going to speak about. So spiritual teachers often avoid talking about sexuality for a few overlapping reasons. Some are historical, some psychological, and some are about power and comfort rather than truth. Now, healing, getting to the truth will be very uncomfortable. That's why many people drop out. I just got back from a sober convention, and it was 3 days of stuff about sobriety. One of the things that I got to do is on Saturday morning, they had yoga. I've tried yoga on my own, and it never worked because I'm not going to do it. As soon as I get uncomfortable, I'm not going to fucking do it. I'm like, oh, this is stupid. This isn't working. But they had a yoga and a meditation class on Saturday morning at 7:30. So my husband and our 2 friends, we went to it, and I did it, and I hated it, and it was very uncomfortable, and I was dizzy and all of this. But then I was like, I need to do this. I'm very stiff in many areas of my life still. I need to do this. I need to do it. And I was forced to do it. I wanted to stop. We did it for an hour. But I also started to feel things moving. That's why I'm kind of drainy and I got some things going on. But I needed to do it. And the guy that led it, he was 77 years old, and he was in better shape than almost all the men at the conference. There were over 600 people at this convention. And so when I did it, after we did it, the yoga, I was like, I need to do this. I'm going to come back tomorrow for Sunday session. I'm going to do it. We got into the hot tub. I started to feel things moving in me. I mean, I'm very sore today, very sore, but I needed to do it because I understand now that yoga puts you in stressful situations so that you can handle stress better. Plus, it got all my lymphatic system moving, and I moved muscles I haven't moved probably ever. So I've always wanted to do yoga. I just never had the opportunity to really get into it. And I finally did. And on Sunday, it was the same thing. But this morning I woke up and I was like, oh gosh, I am sore. Things have been moving. It was very uncomfortable, but I'm so glad that I did it. And in fact, I've already looked up where to go to do it in my town. This is a very Christian town. In this Christian town, they think yoga summons demons. So it's going to be hard to find a yoga class in this town. But also I need to do it with other people because I need to be held accountable, because I thought about doing it today on my own. I'm like, I'm not going to do it. Because it's so, we have to be pushed into discomfort. We have to be pushed into discomfort. Other people have to encourage us. You're no match for this. You're no match for it. The ego is no match for it. You're no match for it. So just get a mentor, do the things that you don't want to do. I'm lucky because I'm open to whatever the universe brings me. I don't think I could have tried yoga a year ago, but I'm glad it lined up. It lined up. I was ready for it. I had gone through enough pain and I was ready for it. So I talk about how Christianity, or the Christians around here, like, don't do yoga. Yoga summons demons. Honey, I would say yoga gets rid of the demons. It gets rid of that stuff. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is the inherited shame from religious traditions. Modern spirituality is downstream from ascetic religions that framed sexuality as dangerous, dirty, or distracting. Even when teachers reject formal religion, they often keep its nervous system. Sex gets labeled lower, animal, or unenlightened, while transcendence is framed as escape from the body. That split never really healed. And even when I'm doing the stuff that I'm doing. Okay, so let me tell you, our album Mask has reached people. Like, men are sharing it with other men. Somebody that I met at a sober convention last weekend said he was sending it to DJs were requesting, hey, you got that album? That gay sex album? And it's cool. We've never done anything that has gotten this much attention. People send me emails. I love this. Thank you for making it. And to think that people told us that we were going to ruin our careers by going down this sexual road. People told us you're blowing up your career. A way to ruin everything. And we laugh about that now because we're better than we've ever been because we went down that road. People will tell you to not go down this road, and I'm going to tell you why in this video. Many teachers are genuinely uncomfortable in their own bodies. They live in cognition, language, and concepts. Sexuality forces presence, sensation, loss of control, and vulnerability. If someone has not integrated their own erotic life, they will spiritualize around it instead of through it. I did it. I am guilty. I did it. I got into semen retention. I got into all that shit. I was like, it's lower. It's base. It's animalistic. And there's a reason why we feel like we may lose control if we give in to those desires. And that's why discipline is so important. And, sometimes on these videos, I might come off like a know-it-all, but y'all know I've been there. Y'all know I have been there. Not able to not eat Nutter Butters. Like, y'all know this. And that's why I think it's important that if we're going to teach this stuff, we got to show our work. We got to show where we've been. Even though I say I've been there, I know many people out there will say, Patrick's being a know-it-all. No, I lived it, bitch, so I can teach it. All right? Just like anybody else. If you lived it, you can teach it. But the fear of losing authority, this is a big one too. The next two I would say are pretty big. Why spiritual teachers don't talk about spirituality. Because sexuality collapses hierarchies. Desire does not care about titles, robes, certifications, or follower counts. A teacher who positions themselves as above human impulses risks losing that position if they admit they are still a sexual being. So sexuality gets avoided to preserve the image of mastery. And we've seen women, even men, shame spiritual teachers for being sexual or having a sexuality. Now, I know Aaron Abke is hot. Aaron Abke is a hot motherfucker. He is very sexy. And I know that he is popular in part due to his looks, because his teachings, while they're good, they're kind of basic. And I would watch podcasts where he would come on and these women would be interviewing him and they would just be like, men too. Aaron Abke is fucking hot. But he avoided talk about sexuality so much. He's like, I'm not that good looking. All that stuff. Because I said, you know what? Aaron Abke might get involved in a scandal someday. Because putting him on a pedestal in that way and saying he's not very sexual or that there is no sexuality, eventually a spiritual teacher who does that, they're going to get into a situation where they have sex with somebody. Maybe, I mean, I got into a situation like this. A woman fell in love with me and I rejected her and she said that I abused her. So, you know, it is a thorny situation. So I think it's just much better to talk about your sex life and your sexuality from the get-go. So if you get caught jerking off on webcam with somebody, or because if you're doing that anyway, why would you be ashamed of it? If you are caught at a gay bar, or if you are seen entering a gay bathhouse, you know, yes, they go, I saw you at the gay bathhouse. Yes, bitch, I go there every month. I'll go once a month. Thank you. I used to go every day, so I think we're doing pretty good. Or I remember, because there's naked pictures of me all over the internet. There has been for decades. And I remember one woman sending me this naked picture and said, just so you know, this is floating out there around on the internet. And I'm like, oh, well, thank you. That's a really good picture. Thank you. Thank you. So when you own it, no one can use that shit against you. And besides, there's nothing wrong with being naked. There's nothing wrong with sex or sexuality. So don't accept other people's shame. Don't accept that moralizing shame from other people. I mean, look at the clothes people used to wear in the times of Jesus. Open, like just rags. And do you think that shit didn't fall off, or titties didn't pop out, or dicks just were everywhere? You don't think people were just hanging out naked and shit? I mean, I've seen Spartacus. I know history. But I think one of the biggest reasons spiritual teachers do not talk about sexuality is because it's messy. It's also powerful and it's easily misunderstood. Many teachers avoid the topic because they fear accusations, projections, or crossing boundaries. And this is the gauntlet that I got through. It was probably October when the people that I was helping required me to be more sex positive because they were having sexual issues that I didn't want to talk to them about. I did not want to talk to them about sex or sexuality, especially because I was married. And also, I didn't want to get accused of anything. But I decided to dispense all of that, do what I needed to do to help the people that needed my help. And I did get accusations. I did get projections. I did get accused of crossing boundaries. I remember, and I'll be completely honest with you about this. Like, I remember working on the masculine restoration stuff and this men's group. And there were a couple of guys in there, and spirits were like, the best way to help these guys is to get naked with them and show them that there's nothing to be ashamed of. And I didn't want to do it. I talked to my husband. I talked to another mentor, and I did research, like, in what ways would nudity among two men working on shame and shit like that, what way would that be beneficial? And I even talked to them about it. I said, this is what we're going to do. Both of them were like, sure, let's do it. I'm willing to try anything. I'm tired of the pain. And when I talked it with them, there was no grooming or anything. If you didn't want to do it, that's fine. Not a big deal. But when the shame came back for them, and I think it was a lot ego, it did become about accusations and projections and crossing boundaries. And, you know, I encouraged them to talk to me about it, but they didn't. They went off and did all this other stuff. But I had to decide. I know what I did. I know my intentions. I know my intention was to help them. And they agreed on this particular process. And so later, if they want to look back and say that I forced them to do something, how can I force somebody to do something through the internet? How can I do that? I don't have that kind of power. I don't have that kind of power. I also, you can say no. People want to do shit with me all the time, and I say, no, I'm not doing that. But it was a mess. And I'm like, man, this might ruin everything. This might ruin everything. But you just get through that. You get through that, because if something is not true, it shouldn't bother you. And I talked to many people. I talked to people, sober people, about what was going on, and they said, let it play out. Let it play out. If it's not true, it shouldn't bother you. And that was a really huge test of my manhood to get through that. But nowadays, I'm not going to work with people unless they're committed to working through or being willing to do whatever it takes to get through it. We going to hike up a trail? We going to go skinny dipping? Like, what are we going to do to get on the other side of it? And there's no shame about sex or sexuality either. You get a boner? Fine. It's natural. You see, it's fucking natural. Quit shaming people for this shit. So we're going to talk about this one right now. Confusing repression with transcendence. Y'all know about this? Some paths mistake numbness for awakening. If desire fades due to dissociation, depression, or over control, it can be misinterpreted as spiritual progress. Talking about sexuality would expose that confusion, so it stays off the table. Because this is very simple. It's very simple stuff. But if you have a lot of sexual hangups, if you still insist on being a victim, if you think people can do things to you that you don't allow, you're going to repress that stuff. Do you make fun of people for their sexuality? Like, I'm working really hard to not judge people for their sexual things. And I'm really doing this. Like, I'm on X. I'm following people with some, what I would consider fetishes that I would not be into. Like, I'm not into feet. So I'm following a lot of accounts that are all about feet, because I don't want to judge people who like feet anymore, or sweaty gym socks. And I'm in it to win it. I want to become more conscious. I don't want to be, when somebody says, ooh, I bet those shoes smell good. I don't want to go, ew, no, because that's going to shut it down. So just because y'all see me on social media following accounts doesn't really mean anything all that much. But talking about sexuality exposes the fact that so many spiritual teachers have mistaked numbness for awakening. So we're just not going to talk about sexuality at all. And if a spiritual teacher talks about sexuality, we're going to shame that spiritual teacher. We're going to tell them that they're ruining their career. We're going to tell them that they need to be ashamed of themselves and cover up. We're going to shame any spiritual person who talks about sexuality, or God forbid has 3 ways or 2 wives or some shit like that. or host circle jerks or anything like that. We're going to shame them because it exposes that so many have confused numbness and awakening. But I think the most important thing about what we're doing here on this channel is that we have lived this shit. Hold on. My cat is knocking at the door. I'll be right back. My pussy is hungry. It is so easy to talk about stillness, awareness, and presence as abstract concepts. Lord knows I did it for over a decade. Somebody sent me an email that I sent them like 12 years ago. And they're like, Patrick, you said the right thing to me in this email. And I did. What was I talking about? Stillness, awareness, presence. And I didn't even know what that meant. It would take many years before I truly understood what stillness, awareness, and presence actually meant. You can talk about things in abstractions. YouTube is full of spiritual teachers who will talk about these things in abstractions. But if you ever see them in traffic, they're like, get the hell out of my fucking way, bitch. I am happy to report I do not have road rage or really any type of rage like that anymore. I'm not as reactionary as I used to be. But it's so much harder to talk about desire, arousal, jealousy, attraction, rejection, and embodiment without hiding. Teachers only teach what they have metabolized. If sexuality has not been metabolized, it becomes invisible. Now, I'm sure there's things that I have not yet metabolized that I'm not speaking about. Probably what I'm going to learn through yoga. Like there's more than likely some things that I'm going to learn by doing yoga that I wouldn't have known without doing it. That's why, yeah, okay, so the instructor talked about putting your body in stressful situations voluntarily so that when you're actually in those stressful situations, you can be calm. You're just calm. And I've talked about that for years. Like a shaman can be in the middle of a hurricane and feel a light breeze. But I'm more rooted now in those teachings. I'm rooted. I actually can talk about it with people and they know that I'm speaking the truth. Like before, when I would talk about just be present as I was bloated, pained, on muscle relaxers for my stomach and stuff, just be present. They didn't buy it. You can't transmit something you haven't got. And for many years, I taught something that I didn't have. That's why I couldn't transmit it. But if sexuality has not been metabolized, it becomes invisible. I still have a long way to go on this integration sexuality journey. Or maybe not. I don't know. Being present, you're like, you really don't have to do all that much work. In the present moment, there it is. Thank you. It doesn't require years of experience to be in the present moment. Because if you can get present, that's all you need. That is all you need. So it's easy to talk about this stuff but if you're afraid of sex, if you have not integrated your sexuality, it's just not there. Like I did it. My husband did it. Like, oh, it's a lower impulse. I know people today who are avoiding their sexuality, avoiding it, numbing out to it. Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous is ate up with people like that. Oh, sexual feelings and sexual things are uncomfortable for me. Well, I'll just go to a 12-step program about it. I'll do the steps. And that's, but doing the steps on something that is natural, it's okay to have desires. You just need discipline. You need to go to a fucking boot camp. You need to integrate it. I think SLAA and SA and all that stuff is very strange and weird. Very strange and weird. I will listen to those people and I'm like, that sounds just like ego to me. That sounds like pain body. Why can't you just go to the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous and call it a day? Why do you need to go to all these things? Live your fucking life. Sexuality threatens the mind's control. This is the reason why I'm talking about this so much recently, because sex is the most direct route through it. It's the quickest, most efficient, easiest, clean route. The yoga instructor was talking about the 12 steps during yoga, and he's like, it's the quickest, it's the cleanest, most efficient route. So you combine sexuality it cuts right through it. It breaks the connection to the mind. It's one of the fastest ways out of the head and into the body for traditions that privilege the mind, stories and ideals. This is threatening. Sexuality exposes how little control the ego actually has. See, that says it so plainly, doesn't it? Sexuality exposes how little control the ego actually has. Okay, so for you men out there, have you been, and I know, and if you've had a sex life, I know you've been in this situation. where you're just, we're fucking now. Like, you can't even stop it. You're with somebody or you're by yourself. And like, this is what ego can't do a god dang thing about it. The ego does not have that much control. But I do want to talk about this now. There's the deeper reason why spiritual teachers don't talk about sex and sexuality. Let me get another cup of coffee. I'll be right back. This is the most important part of all of this. It's not even really about sex. It's not even really about sex. And in fact, once you get done with the sexual integration, it's just there. Like, I might talk about sex with people who aren't integrated to help them get integrated, but sexuality is not separate from consciousness. It's one of the most raw expressions. When teachers avoid it, they are often avoiding the last place the ego can hide. Hey, I have done such great work on getting the ego calm the fuck down. I'm a different person. But the ego was hiding in that shit. And to the women that encouraged me to go into this, thank you. Thank you. For the men that encouraged me to go into this, thank you. And for those of you who said, don't fucking do this, Patrick, you're going to blow up your career. You're going to ruin your life. You're going to ruin your life. That was ego. That's the ego. You can perform spirituality, honey. I know. I did it for years, but you cannot fake embodiment for very long. You just can't. You just can't. Traditions that did not avoid sexuality understood this. You got tantric. You hear a lot about tantra. People talking about tantric shit. Taoist. Somatic path treated eros as fuel. Not indulgence, not repression, but integration. And I think you cannot be authentic unless you are integrated. You can't be authentic unless you are embodied. You cannot be authentic unless you own your desires. Let me talk about this sober convention that we went to. There was my husband, me, my friend, and another new friend. And we were 4 gay guys. And guess what? We had the time of our lives in sobriety. We had never been around other gay guys in sobriety, other sober gay guys in this way before. We were able to talk about sex, music, love, spirituality, being present. Like, it was just great. It was great. We were not repressed. It was very healing. It was so fun. It was so much fun. But when sexuality is excluded from spirituality, people split. They become spiritual in public and confused, ashamed, or compulsive in private. That split is not awakening. It is fragmentation. And, I have amends to make to people for acting like I knew what I was talking about when I really didn't. But spiritual teachers aren't going to teach you this, okay? This has to come to you through tragedy, loss. Like, I'm sure that there are people who have dropped out of this video. They're not going to hear this part. They're not going to hear what I have to say. This is fucking important. I'm telling you, this is fucking important. This is very important. You cannot be fragmented. It'll kill you. It'll make you sick. Why do you think I got IBS around the same time that I shut down my sexuality? I'm curious about that. I'm more curious about that. So a teacher who can speak about sexuality clearly without preaching, seduction, or shame is usually someone who has done the real work, not theoretical work, lived work, body work. Because I'm sure that sometimes unintegrated spiritual teachers want to talk about sexuality to get in your pants. I'm sure. I don't know if I was ever one of those teachers because I had no trouble getting into people's pants without it. I mean, one of the accusations that I got, especially in the early days, I still get it today, that I was pretending to be a shaman to get guys naked. Well, I don't have to do that. No gay guy has to pretend to do anything to get guys naked. And sometimes I think that it's a projection. I love the male body. I love the male form, but I don't have to see people naked. I really don't. I've examined that. Like, am I doing this for nefarious reasons? But that's the kind of teacher I am. I'm also in recovery. And I think this is so important to talk about because I want to do the right things. I want to do right by people, but I also want to actually fucking help people. And in recovery, there is talk of sex. You do a sex and relationship inventory, but avoidance is not wisdom. Avoidance is rarely wisdom. Let me say it that way. Most of the time, it's unfinished business. It's unfinished business when it's avoidance. Today, I'm working on a whole ass film about our new album, Mask. And there are videos for every song. There's interludes. It's called the Mask Manifesto, and I'm working on it. And you know what? It gives me boners because some of this shit is very sexual. And I don't know how people are going to be able to sit through it. It'll be like a spiritual fucking experience for people, like it was for me. Like it was for me. Okay, so, and a spiritual teacher that does not talk about sexuality, it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong or that they're doing something wrong. I'm going to reference this right here. Few spiritual teachers are willing to risk their career over talking about sex and sexuality. It's just risk management and scandal avoidance. But I'm thinking if you want to be a spiritual teacher worth your salt, or any type of consciousness teacher or authenticity teacher worth your salt, you're going to want to be integrated, even if you never talk about it publicly. Because some people have no desire to talk about this publicly. But I'm a weirdo. I like talking about real, true, honest things. I've made mistakes, plenty of them, and people have let me know about the mistakes. Some people want to remind me of mistakes I didn't even make. But integration is the goal. Authenticity is the goal. And that is why most spiritual teachers don't talk about sexuality. That's all I got for you. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.